This episode might get a little feisty for you, a little spicy, because I'm going to talk about something that is just, I see this all the time. If you approached your career the way that you've been approaching your body, constantly checking, adjusting, second guessing, it wouldn't last a week. And you know that. So now, before I go any further, let me be clear about something. This is not an episode about committing harder to whatever you're doing. If you read that title and you're like, okay, I'm going to get a lecture about committing, that's not what this is about. It's not about committing to what you're doing. If what you're doing does not match how your body works, committing harder to that is just going to make things worse. And I work with women all the time who have had that exact experience. So, this discussion today is not about discipline. It's about how you're approaching the problem in the first place. You see, most of the women I talk to will say that they have been really working on this, and they have. They'll tell me they clean things up in the way that they're eating. They are paying more attention to what they're eating. They're paying more attention to how much they move. They're trying to stay on track or be more consistent. They'll say all of those kinds of things, and it's true. Those things are all true. But underneath that, what's actually happening is this. You're still kind of watching. You're watching to see if it works. You're watching to see if you feel different. You're watching to determine if it's worth keeping up, keeping going, continuing. And that watching, that underneath part, that monitoring, that keeps everything in a constant state of maybe. All right. Let me try to kind of set some context around this and make it real. So you start something. Let's see if this resonates. Okay, you start something. You're on it for a few days, whether that's a new diet, a new program, a new something that's going on at your gym or whatever. And your brain starts to ask you questions like, it's been a few days. Do I feel different yet? Should this be doing something as in progress, right? By now? Am I doing enough? Is this eating plan enough? Should I tweak it? Should I revise it? And because you're smart, you don't ignore those questions. You engage with them in your brain. You engage with them. So you start taking action, which seems reasonable. You adjust things. You try to improve it. And all of this feels very smart, intelligent, even responsible. But what you've actually done is you've kept the entire situation open, if you will, unresolved, if you will. Because when your brain is in that mode, it is constantly evaluating. It's scanning things, it's questioning things, it's reassessing things. And it sounds counterintuitive for me to say that because I say that and you go, well, of course, like that's the smart thing to do. That's the intelligent, strategic thing to do, to keep reassessing, to keep monitoring, to keep questioning. But when that's happening, your brain stays stuck there and it never moves fully into execution mode. See, when you're doing that, you're not building anything stable. All you're doing is managing a moving target still, and your actions reflect that. Close, but not consistent. Intentional, but always changing. And your body does not respond. It definitely doesn't respond well to that. And that's part of why you think back on some of your past experiences with diets or different plans, and you'll say, well, I made a little bit of progress, but I could never get farther than that, or I hit a wall, or I hit a plateau, right? Because your body doesn't respond to the always changing, the always moving target. What your body responds to is stability, especially in midlife. Your body and your midlife metabolism needs a consistent signal, and one that's consistent and long enough of a signal that it can adapt to it. And the right consistent long enough signal that it can adapt to it. And if the signal keeps changing, even what feels kind of slightly, your body never fully responds. Now, let's compare this to how you operate in your professional life, in your career. You don't walk into your leadership role and say, "Okay, I'm going to try and see how this goes." That decision to step into the role has already been made. And once you make it, then your brain is free to do what it's supposed to do. Focus on solving problems, adjusting when it's strategically necessary, moving things always forward. You're not redeciding every few days or every couple of weeks whether you're in or you're out on this professional role, right? That part is done. That part is decided. Same thing in your personal life. Let's take it to a different personal kind of a situation, not your health and your weight loss journey, but personal life. There are things in your personal life that you handle just because they need to be handled. You don't wake up and reevaluate whether you feel like doing them. You just move into it, whether that's your marriage, parenting your kids, managing your household, caretaking for elderly parents. You don't constantly sit in question about whether those things will be done. You move into execution mode and you deal with whatever comes with those situations. And that is a very different mental state. Now, here's where most women get this wrong. They hear this and they think, okay, so I just need to commit harder. No, that's not what I'm saying. If the strategy itself is off for your body in midlife and your metabolism, committing harder to a strategy that's not right for you just creates more frustration. It doesn't get you anywhere. So the goal is not to have this blind commitment, which is part of what I hear so many freaking health coaches out there say. Like, you just have to decide and commit. No, it's not about a blind commitment. The goal is deciding to solve the problem correctly because your body now is not responding the way it did before. Stress impacts things differently. Your hormonal signaling is different in your body. The way your body regulates energy is different. So, and those are just a few things that are different, right? Right? So, a plan that used to work or that looks good on paper can still be way out of alignment with what your metabolism, your body needs right now. So, here's what happens. You start something, things don't go the way you thought they would, your body doesn't respond to the way you expected, and you assume it's you. Or if you're working with someone, and this is a really sad experience that I've heard some women have had, they're working with someone and that exact thing happens and the person says, "Well, you're just not doing what you're supposed to do. You're cheating on your food, or you're just not working hard enough. You're not committed enough." And so again, then you internalize that and you think it's you. So you adjust or you try to switch things up or you layer something else in, you look for a supplement to add or whatever it is, right? And now you're just right back at the beginning again. And it wasn't because you were quote unquote doing it wrong. It's because you were trying to solve something while constantly questioning it, constantly leaving the loop open with should I, do I, how do I change it up, right? And so to make this even more clear, let me define some things. And I'm not going to get into a ton of science, but I like to do a little bit of the sciencey, nerdy stuff. So I may veer off there, but let's define things properly. A decision does not mean I'm going to stick to this no matter what. That's not the goal. A real decision is I am going to solve this problem and I am going to stay with this process long enough that I see it's actually what's happening. I see what is going on clearly. That's it. That's a decision. You're not committing to a random plan and expecting it to work just because you can put your head down and do the work and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That's not what I mean. So you're not committing to a random plan. You're committing to getting the answer. You see the difference? The distinction may seem subtle, but it's very important. Those two things are very different because when you commit to getting the answer, when that happens, things get cleaner. You stop restarting every few days. You stop treating every kind of off day like proof that something's not working. And instead, you start to look at, okay, what actually happened this week? Where was I consistent? Where did things break down and why? You're still thinking, but you're not questioning the entire direction constantly. You're strategizing within a decision and you're moving forward. And here's the part that most women don't realize that they're doing. You're not just following a plan, you're constantly watching yourself follow it the entire time. And you're checking, am I doing this right? Should I feel different by now? Is this enough? Am I doing enough? And every time you do that, you subtly change something. Even if you're not completely conscious of it, you're subtly changing things. And that constant sort of checking pulls you out of the execution process again. It's it's like trying to drive while staring at the dashboard the whole time instead of looking at the road. You're paying attention, but not in a way that actually gets you to where you want to go, right? And the reason this disrupts your results when you're on this sort of wrong-headed path, when you're in this trying mode and not deciding to solve the problem mode, when you stay in that wrong lane, nothing is settled. Your behavior is always slightly changing. Your body needs consistency to respond. And so even if you're doing something that's kind of close to right, it's never stabilized long enough to work for you. Now, you might ask, okay, so like you gave me all the Debbie Downer stuff, Lori, like what does it look like when this is resolved? Well, when a decision is actually made, that noise, that questioning noise, that monitoring noise, that constant assessing noise, that quiets down in your brain. You're not asking every day, is this working? Stand on the scale and do I see a change? Is there something that I should be doing a little bit differently? You're not there. And so all that noise that those questions creates, that starts to quiet down. And you can focus inside the process. You can start to see patterns and make adjustments, appropriate adjustments, especially if you have the guide. That's part of what I help women do is like when to make the appropriate kinds of adjustments based on actual patterns. You can build momentum when you're focused on execution and solution. Now you're not like reacting to what you're doing. You are truly strategically managing what's happening. And so a lot of times by the time women come to me, effort is that's not even part of the issue. They've done a lot. They've done enough. What's missing is the strategy that actually matches their body and the structure that removes that constant guessing, that constant try mode. And once those things are in place, then things start to move totally differently because you've finally given your body and your brain the chance to make progress and move things forward in a different way. So I would tell you to ask different questions. All right. So instead of, for example, asking, what should I try next? Ask yourself, am I still watching all of this play out? Or have I actually decided to solve this and to get it handled once and for all? Because those are two different ways of operating. One, when you're kind of watching this play out, it may seem like an intelligent thing to do. It's a really tricky mode for your brain to be in because especially for women like us who research and read and, gather information, our brain can make us feel super accomplished. And the busyness of researching and reading and all those, our brain tricks us into thinking that we're actually accomplishing something and we're succeeding. But you're not because you haven't actually decided to get shit handled when you're doing that. The brain is just sort of diverting your attention from a solution, putting it off, postponing it. And again, those are way different ways of operating inside your head, which ultimately dictate how you behave and what you think. And those two different ways of operating, the trying versus the deciding to handle it, they do not ever lead to the same outcome. Never. One has you constantly spinning your wheels, trying and trying and trying, starting over, starting over, starting over. The other one moves your brain into execution mode. Not everything will go perfectly once you're in execution mode, but you manage things in your health journey when you're in execution mode, the way you manage your business, the way you lead teams, the way you make professional and other personal decisions. You decide you're going to get it solved. If you hit a bump in the road, you collect the data that you need and you make a strategic decision on how to move forward and you move forward. That leads to real change and real results. So if you're ready to truly stop circling, stop spinning your wheels, and actually get shit handled when it comes to your weight and your health and your body, you know you can always schedule a call and talk to me. You know that you can use the Calendly link in these show notes and apply to work with me, or you can shoot me a message and ask me a question about what it would actually take to get shit handled for you. And I'm there. And that's no criticism, it's an observation. I work with women who move themselves into decision mode all the time. And those are the women who finally successfully solve all of these struggles and feel so much better, not just physically, but mentally. And I pray for you. I truly do pray for you that if you don't move into decision and execution mode with my guidance, you move into execution mode make the decision and get somebody to help you so that you can get out of the rut that you're in. Because I've been there and I know how crappy it feels to sit in that rut. And you don't deserve to stay there. Thanks again so much for being here with me this afternoon or this morning. I don't know what time you're listening to this. Podcast episodes always drop around 5 a.m. Maybe it's 5 a.m. and you're on your early morning walk, and I'm here with you in your ear. And so thank you for taking me on the walk. I can use the extra steps. But thanks, seriously. Thanks for being here and spending time with me. I hope this was helpful. As always, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message. Let me know how this episode just sat with you, if you would. And I'll see you right back here next time.